Hey everyone, really great class last night. It's very exciting to hear some of the stuff you're creating. I just urge you, time management is crucial, it's very important. So don't get so focused on one thing in lieu of dropping the ball on some other things. I want to have a full experience, which is another reason why we're doing an extra week on this project. Speaking of this project, apologies for how much of a bear the interactive blueprint were for the footsteps and the landings. There's a lot of tiny bits that have to be connected and talk to each other, and it's not the most streamlined experience. Speaking of streamlined, I've redone this project. A lot of this should be way more approachable now. So let's just start right where I am. This little sound emitter, it is basically AM force field loop right here. If I open this up, there it is. It's just that. It's just a simple little sound. So you can go in and change this. I have an oscillator on this. You can totally move that and remove it if you want to. I have a modulator working. You can go through and make this however you want. But if you update this sound cue with whatever new sounds you have, that's positioned right there. While we're at this little spot, let's look at this. I clicked on the little blue shimmering part and it said gate force field blueprint. If I open this up, it's calling the pass through. If I do the little magnifying glass to the right of what this sound is calling, now this is a case, it's actually calling the sound wave. It's the sound wave, pass through force field. I went ahead and made you a pass through force field sound cue if you wanted to work with a cue as opposed to a wave. And it's real simple. If you wanted to update that, you would again, let's go back to the map here. I'm on the large gate force field 2 blueprint. If you just go here and you just find it and select it, that's it. You edit the blueprint and make this call the sound cue versus the sound wave. You could also just do one of those things where you do the little arrow and have an update there, and now it's the sound wave. So whatever you want to use there, I gave you some flexibility. If you want to have a bit more control and use a cue, awesome. If you want to go just for replacing the sound, if you name it pass underscore through underscore force field and update this sound, everything will be connected for you. So you're good to go there. All right. Let's talk real fast since we're right here about the music. Again, the music is controlled by these two trigger volumes as the player goes into them and overlaps with them. And the way you get there is you just go blueprints, open level blueprint, and I've updated the names for these. There's song 1 and song 2. If I do the little magnifying glass, and again, remember, whichever content browser is in focus will be the one that responds, hey, you're looking at this. Like I clicked over here and made this content browser in focus. If I click over here and do a search for the other one, it updates this one. You can just update the sound cues themselves. You just go song 1 and put your new song here. Song 2, put your new song here. You're good to go. All right, we're strolling along here. You have some wind emitters along the edges and in the middle, and you guys already know how to do those. You just drag them in, for example, like this, and you're good to go. I'm going to delete that though. Okay, the windmill. So all my sounds are in content block game sounds. And you can ignore the first two folders, concurrencies and sound classes. But you have ambient sounds, you have blueprint, which are only a few things in here, and then music, and then NPC sounds, and then player sounds. So the windmill is going to be an ambient, excuse me. And if you update the ambient, AMB, mill, loop, bass cue, my sounds are right here. One thing I really didn't talk about, by the way, is I have a bass loop. If I play this, and then I have a layer, more mechanical. And it randomizes between those. And it's together via the mixer right here. It's taking this signal, taking that signal, mixing it together and putting it out. And it's looping the whole thing. So one thing about this is, I've not talked about this yet in the class, this has an attenuation of 6500. This is the bass part of the loop. And this has an attenuation of 2000. This is the mechanical part of the loop. So you have to get closer to hear this sound than this sound. So you can have attenuation for an entire sound, or you can go through and just right click and select attenuation and have certain layers of sound have a closer attenuation. So it's a defined sound that you only get as you get closer and start to hear those little details versus a bigger, much louder sound. So just to explain what's going on in that sound cue. If you make a nice little loop here, you can delete all this and just do one sound for it. You can make a kind of multi-layered tiered effect like I'm doing here with a bass and some detail work over here. But that's all set up for you. Easy peasy. When cues are all good to go, you should be fine there. Let's look at, we already talked about the music. MPC chatter. If you open up this cue and then you replace all these things, you're good to go. And by the way, this is defaulting to a min pitch of raised to 4. So that's why I have the cartoony, fast little talking. Change the pitch min if you want to, for example, pitch that down. I went from 4 to 3. And I went from 3 to 2.
Give me your money.
And now 1.
Do you like my house?
And then like -5 if you want to, for example. Ooh, that's interesting. Jabba the Hutt. So you can go through right here and select your volume. Or sorry, your pitch value. Mine's defaulting to 4. All right, cool. And just a reminder, I've said this in class a couple different times, but if you bring in, let's say you had 3, you right click. When they're selected like that, it auto does the random for you, which is super nice. It saves a little bit of time. So the chatter is right there under MPC. And then player sounds. So you, a couple things here. Well, actually, I made a mistake. Here, let's fix this. I'm not going to grade you on this. If you don't want to fix this, that's fine. But I'm just going to show you so you have your own reference for it. There's a couple things in here I made that are not player sounds. And I'm a stickler for organization. And so let's look at this. The altar torches should be an ambient sound. So I could grab this and just drag it over to amp sounds. And you notice here it says move or copy. If I let go, I have the option. I can copy it and keep a sound version there and make a new one there. Or I can say move. I want to move. So now if I open up this, I've got altar torches. This is an empty sound cue right now. These are going to be if you want to make, if you want to use a sound cue, you would use the altar torches, make your little torch sounds, set your modulators so they don't sound exactly the same when they're close together, and then drag them over to the altars that are on fire around the crystal. Cool. The chimes should also be over here. So let's move this here. And move this here as well. Just doing some cleanup. Everything else, let me look here, looks okay. I notice I also have NPC chatter here, which is interesting. Oh, okay. This is not NPC chatter, excuse me. This is the wrong name. I should change this. Don't look at this. This is, I'll just call it jump grunt. I called it NPC chatter before, but if I play it, this is the little vocalization as the character jumps. By the way, just to reaffirm the power of the modulator, I'm pitching these up a little bit, but all they are, if I were to make them a default of 1, I just grab some royalty-free, not royalty, yeah, just some sound effects from a library. If I play it now, it's just going to feel like someone doing a workout. Or climbing. But when they're pitched up, they sound cutesy. And so I felt like that matched the character, in my opinion. But I like how some of you are applying some creativity to it. Okay, cool. So, what do you need to do for footsteps? You need to update the interactive footsteps. You need to update the interactive lands. Okay, and in this version, instead of having new sounds, I took the existing sounds and I randomized some of them and I randomized and delayed the other, and they're being mixed together. Same thing here. Randomized some of them, randomized and added a delay to some of these, and I made it a little bit louder and a little bit lower. So there you go. On the footsteps, they're just grass, and they're just here for concrete. So that's pretty much it. Everything else should be all set up for you. A super high level quick overview of how the interactive footsteps are working is we have the player blueprint. This is the one that controls jumping, running, movement, all that type of stuff, the gamepad input. And down here we have two custom events, footstep event, footstep land. And they're playing different things, interactive footsteps and interactive lands. If I go to the viewport for my character, and I have all these different components, in the interactive footsteps, it's playing this cue. And if I make this content browser in focus, do my magnifying glass, it goes to this, and you've already seen this. It's working, does the switch that's labeled footsteps. Yay, we're good to go there. And then if I go to interactive lands, it's looking at the interactive lands sound cue, which is right next door. Open that up. It is working like we've already talked about, and it's using the switch labeled lands. So that's what's happening on the player blueprint side. On the animation blueprint side, we have the anim notifies. They're set for footstep or land, and then it's casting to that player blueprint, which is over here, this guy with all of this stuff. And then it's looking for that custom event, either the footstep event or the land event. It's drawing that line straight from the bottom of the character down. It's getting the surface type, and then it's calling the appropriate sound cue, be it interactive footsteps or interactive lands. And then this is all controlled by numbers. So if I go back to the sound cues for these things, 0, 0, and 1, 1 is how I set these up for this stuff, 0, 0, 1, 1. And remember, you can ignore the wood. And so that's how it's controlled. And then I made a handy dandy little print string. It's actually color coded and has words instead of numbers. Stepped on grass in green, stepped on stone in blue. Or landed on grass, also in green. And then close it out. And then landed on stone, also in blue. So the way that looks now in game, if I push play, I regret nothing. I did not time that very well. We're going to try this again. Cool. Here's the last thing. So you should know how to set all this up as far as the player's sound goes. All the sounds in general goes. Poke around here. You don't really have to worry about this one too much unless you want to dig in for that gate from this point. You can open this up. That's fine. I think it's just as easy to fly over with your camera and just select it from the world outliner and then edit the blueprint. So just go down here. There's it. Push that, edit blueprint, bring it up. And you have this. And then you can go and search for it and do the sound cue, either the sound cue or the sound wave. Right now, by default, your version is set to the sound wave. So, up to you which one you want to do. But you have everything you need, and if you work with the sound cues, you should be good to go for 90%. This is the only one, the force field, that you have to pick. Do I want to do sound wave or sound cue? Everything else, if you work within the sound cues, you're mostly implemented and ready to go. We will have another check-in this next Monday to see how things are going, and then, of course, it'll be due, I believe, on the 2nd is that next following Monday. So hit me up if you have any questions. The last thing to do is if you have no footsteps for no reason and you're like, what's going on? Go to Edit, Project Settings, and go down to Physics, and then scroll down and make sure this has grass, stone stairway, stone floor. If these are empty, you need to put them in. And then the other thing you can do is in your root, it has to be in the root, you can just search for the word physical. And you should see these. Physical grass, physical stone floor, physical stone stairway. If you do not, please reach out to me. I'll make sure you get these hooked up, because those are components that have to happen for everything to talk to each other. After that, you should be good to go. The only other thing I could think to look at to make sure all this is working is the anim notify. Make sure the anim notify land and anim notify footstep is the right sound. Sorry, right name. It matches. So to find that out, it's pretty simple. I go Learning Kit Games, Assets, and Character, Animations, and then I open up my animation. For example, Jump End has land right there. As long as that matches my custom event over here, right here, then I'm good to go. And then on the run, right here, footstep, as long as that matches over here, I'm good to go. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much. Make some good progress on this. I really appreciate you all hanging in with me, and I will see you next Monday. Thanks, everyone. Bye.